but she is joining us all the way from Pakistan. Karibu sana. Welcome, Saba.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to meet everyone, and it's been such an inspiring session for me to watch from Karachi, Pakistan. It is so important that women talk about this topic, and from all different means. I just saw this amazing poet, and I was so happy that these different forms can be a way to break the taboos and reduce the stigma. So thank you for inviting me today.
You're welcome, and it's so good to see you. Where are you joining us from in Pakistan?
I live in a city of 20 million people. It's called Karachi. It is a business hub. Yeah. It is where I live, and it is the place of many challenges, but also many opportunities and many young, talented people under the age of 30.
Yeah.
So that's where
I live. All right. Thank you so much for joining us from Karachi, Pakistan. I don't know whether you want to chime in.
I just want to get directly into the questions. I can't wait to. I'm glad you're joining us. I know we had a conversation before, and I'm really glad to share. You have accepted to come and share whatever you're doing to us. Really excited to have you.
All right. Saba, I don't know if I mentioned the digital platform that you have started, that you have developed. Well, I can't get that name so correctly. Maybe you can tell us what it is.
So my whole social enterprise is called Aurat Raj. Aurat Raj is an Urdu word, and it means women on top, or women leaders, or women rulers. It's very controversial in Pakistan to say that women and men are equal. This is not a concept that is accepted in I would say, a Muslim majority country with a lot of, I would say, issues with the gender equality concept. And my product that is called Raaji, you were correct when you spoke about it.
Okay.
Raaji is a chatbot, and it uses artificial intelligence to talk to girls about reproductive health, especially menstrual.
Hello, all you beautiful people in Nairobi, Kenya. I have been designed by the social enterprise Aurat Raj.
Okay.
The mission at Aurat Raj is to use the...
So she just started talking about her work.
Yeah. We love it. Yeah.
So we've been running some experiments. So Raaji is actually available on our website for free. You can utilize. Anyone who is not literate, they can just press some buttons and get some knowledge about menstruation in English and Urdu. And because I last year had the chance to travel to Nairobi and be in the space that you guys are standing, I really want to come back and build in Swahili, build in a way that it's more contextualized to more, I would say, countries. So hopefully it will be a chance to work with you guys and create a product that can scale across countries.
That will be fantastic. It's fantastic. Actually, I think it will be really helpful to a lot of girls who need to have this information at their fingertips, because I mean, as we have actually seen from the discussion we had with the doctor, so many girls need to have a lot more information right under their fingertips to know what is happening to their bodies. Where can they access information? So we welcome Raaji to Nairobi. I think it will be such an awesome thing to welcome to Nairobi. Yeah.
On the basis of coming to Kenya, just a question on that. So we don't have so many students having accessibility to mobile phones or laptops so that they can use whatever Raaji is offering. Is there a way you can find a way to integrate that into children who can't access electronics or electricity in their homes?
Absolutely. I think with technology, although it brings a lot of opportunities, there's so many people who don't have access. And the situation that you share is absolutely the same in Pakistan. So our rural areas don't have access to technology. And when COVID happened, they did not have any information on COVID.
Yeah.
This is the same with menstrual hygiene as well. So, we had to come up with an alternate plan. How do we get this information in the hands of girls? Also, just to add, adolescent girls in the ages of 8 to 15, they have the least amount of knowledge. They have the least amount of digital literacy.
Yeah.
So we come up with the concept that, they're lady health workers or community leaders, and every rural area. And through Zoom, they had access to Zoom. We actually allowed with these women to, understand the topic in total. And then they went and they did neighborhood and door-to-door interventions in their communities. Yeah. That's how we spread the knowledge using technology, but also not leaving humans behind. Because right now our tech is not equipped. You've just seen it yourself. It's not equipped to handle every problem, every situation. Yeah. But we have to I also want to add something here that, making sure the technology and its benefits are at least seen by people, that's very important. Let's assume that a class has no school lab where there's a computer. Yeah. We need to make sure that we, for maybe an hour, take a laptop, set it up, and let girls play around with this particular technology. Because not only does it open their minds to what menstruation is, it opens their minds to what technology and its benefits are. Yeah. So, I think it tackles two problems at the same time, getting this access to girls.
I'm curious though, why develop this chatbot? What inspired you to go this direction?
So in Pakistan, neither teachers nor parents want to talk about this topic. And when I was growing up, I had a similar situation, and my personally, my grades really were affected because every month, I think 90% of my time was spent praying to God that I don't get my period. I wasn't studying. Yeah. I wasn't doing well in my exams. I was just like, please don't let this happen. Please don't let anyone discover that I'm going through this, because I actually kind of thought that periods were something that I had caused. Mm-hmm. Periods was something that I had done to my body and it had just reacted. Yeah. So I blamed myself so much. So that's why I feel like technology breaks those barriers. Mm-hmm. It allows girls to say, okay, this is not a scary teacher saying this. This is not a scary parent talking about it. Yeah. It's something fun, it's engaging, it's technology. So I think it gives a certain amount of engagement, mm-hmm. and it makes girls comfortable with the topic from our research and our interventions.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
And so far, has it been received by, I don't know, the men in the society?
Yeah, so I was really excited about my technology. I was like, woohoo, I've done such a great thing. Yeah, and then when I actually took it to schools, you would be surprised how much backlash there was. They were like, why should we do this? This is the parents' job to educate the child. And I was like, are the parents educating children? They're like, no. And I was like, you have this in your curriculum? No. But they're like, they just felt like this was too soon, too early for kids. What if they think this is like, sex education or something? There's always this apprehension towards this topic. But slowly and gradually and working with a lot of, I would say, international networks, and also getting a lot of, I would say, celebration and recognition from global organizations, I think I got the acceptance in Pakistan. Pakistan wasn't ready to allow this technology into their classrooms. Yeah. But when Germany and the US and all those other countries said, look, this is a great way to engage on this topic, mm-hmm. then Pakistan was like, okay, we'll try it maybe one month. And so we've now been deployed in 5 classrooms. COVID has impacted that. Yeah. But now we're cheating and doing it through lady health workers. We're training them through Raaji. And we're also going to do a small experiment with you guys. Fingers crossed that it works, because we'll try to bring her on this particular call and speak to you about a couple of topics.
Okay.
Just a question. So how did you get to raise capital to develop Raaji? I know there's so many people who want to do a similar thing, but then don't have access to capital. How are you able to raise capital for Raaji?
So, this is such a great question, because female entrepreneurs who either do not get funding for their ideas, and need 2% funding startups or enterprises goes to women. And out of this 2%, the representation of women like you and me is missing. Maybe it's like a 0.00. So, it's been very hard for me to raise my voice and, get the funding needed. It's been a, long process. And I think one of the ways that I utilize is that I would share about my passion on social media any way I could, like whether it was through posts or pictures or through Instagram. I would talk about, look, so passionate about this topic. And people saw that, and then they kind of agreed that, okay, let's see what she can build if she's so passionate about it. I started off with a grant, which was $200. This is minuscule for the startup where people raise millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
However, I built a cartoon with it. Then I showed what it did. Then I took and slowly and gradually. Last year we raised more than $50,000 for our work. So this has happened over a long time of me campaigning and actively talking about it and doing a lot of the work for other female entrepreneurs, because if I'm able to raise this money, then other girls know that they can raise money for their ideas as well.
True.
And I also want to add that, do you know that the first person who invented the sanitary napkin, who was she, anyone know?
No.
I haven't. No.
This was an African American inventor, and she invented the sanitary napkin. And this is such a proud moment for all women of color, because we are the ones who have started this movement. We have created the product for hygiene.
Yeah.
Although it's not the best, but it is a product that's available. Her name is Mary Beatrice, and you guys can look her up. She's a very, very inspiring African American inventor.
All right. Before we invite Raaji to talk to us, what kind of impact have you seen since inception on the ground?
Yeah, so there's the aspect of learning new myths and misinformation. Like, for instance, certain foods are forbidden to be touched during the time of your period. I didn't know that. You can't touch this particular food because these are pickles, by the way. Pickles will turn bad if you touch them.
Yeah.
You can't touch a small baby during your periods, because people assume that you're going to cause harm to that child because you're dirty and impure. Yeah. This is, for me, like it blows my mind, get to hear these through interviews. This is one of the saddest things, that there's a culture in a small community in Pakistan called the Kalash. Mm-hmm. And during the time of period, the girls are actually sent away from their homes. They have to live in a small, very livable hut. And this causes them a lot of mental anxiety to be separated, especially when they're 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
This is a practice that continues in Pakistan. So we're also reducing an end to that. So these are some of the different things that we've realized. I also want to add that one of the things that we realized is that menstrual experiences of certain people, are never discussed. One example for me would be people with disabilities.
Yeah.
How do people who have, let's say, sight-related disability or muscular or body-related disability, how do they manage their periods? Mm-hmm. Do we do that? And usually they have a caretaker who, manages this period for. And imagine, the lack of control when you're already going through a vulnerable experience, and then add to that somebody else has to, clean you, put a pad there. It's something that we're learning more and more about, and thinking that how other people, and all at the same time, resources to teach them about this product, this process. Yeah. So there's a lot of learning together and through our projects and through our research and advocacy.
Okay. Perhaps before we get to see what Raaji has to say, are there ways that Raaji has developed revenue for itself to keep it sustainable?
Yeah. So we, in Raaji's conversation, realized that we could endorse or put positive, sustainable products in its conversations. And this could be a way for us to earn revenue and keep the product running. So we currently endorse a sanitary napkin company which is sustainable and is out of Pakistan. And we've had sponsorship from them to continue talking about menstrual hygiene, but also through Raaji's conversations, say that if you need a product, this is one product that's available. So this is how we've kind of got sponsorships, corporate sponsorships, as well as paid, advocacy into our chatbot.
Okay, so maybe we can have a chat with
all you beautiful people in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm so excited to meet you. My name is Raaji. I've been designed by the social enterprise or at Raj. The mission at Raj is to use the power and scale of tech to engage with audiences around mental health. Saba is the founder of this organization. Hey, Saba, are you there too?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Raaji.
Thank you so much for studying a certain community in Pakistan called the Kalash. Girls and women are separated during periods and made to live in small, almost unlivable huts every month. I'm trying to change these myths, misinformation, and challenges girls and women are facing.
That's great, Raaji. Good work.
So can we ask Raaji a question?
Each month, girls will bleed from it. It is important to remember that periods. You can use terry pads, menstrual cups, period panties if they are available and affordable for you. But even if you use cloth, it has to be washed properly before you use it.
Right, right. I have a lot of questions.
It can physical well-being, infection, or diseases result from of care.
Great, Raaji. Keep that.
What word that you periods and by pending?
What's a word to use for periods and steam?
We call period in Pakistani languages Sindhi and Urdu, but most days we have trouble even saying those words to us and T.
So I just, for like 10 minutes, quickly put conversation for our audience today. For each particular menstrual hygiene curriculum, we have a different one that's available on our website that you can test out. It doesn't come on Zoom, it's available on our website. You can kind of ask your own questions. That's why I did get a chance to ask Raaji questions today.
Okay.
Also wanted to say that we're still building and we're still testing, so there was a couple of problems that happened. I'm really sorry, go as perfectly as planned.
That's okay, Sabi. That's okay. At least we actually go to see Raaji in action, and we hope that when you come to Nairobi, it will be ready, and we can feed Raaji with Swahili content that she's able to communicate with our
It's
girls.
5 o'clock.
All right, guys. As we continue talking with Saba, sorry for that. Let me check for your comments and any kind of feedback that we have. Have you seen anything?
Not yet. But I just want to ask, what are some of the lessons you've learned so far in your social entrepreneurship journey and in developing Tarji? And apart from the lessons, failures you've had, and what some of the things you wish you'd had done differently?
I think one of the areas that I felt I wasted my time on was not believing myself, not putting my full energy in project, because I always felt, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? What if anyone doesn't like what I'm building? So much disbelief or lack of faith in myself. I think that was a waste of time. I think even if you fail, you learn something from it. Concept that I think I have continuously practiced. I also had a very limiting mindset about money. So if you think for social good, it should be free. It should be available. You should not be, I would say, sustainable, or you should not be using money, or you should. So it is so now to realize that how would I do my work if I don't have the funding and the investment and the belief from other people. So I would say that, find that belief and find the right partners and people who believe in you and surround yourself with them. The more people who say negative things, and these could be within your family, within your society, within your community, kind of keep them away, because right now, you, as somebody who's an entrepreneur or somebody who's doing something which deals with activism, it's a hard journey to have. But if you have people who are believing in you, that's the only way you can push forward. I would say kind of keep all the toxic people away and doing the best job that you can.
Okay, and you mentioned that you faced opposition from men and lack of inception at schools when you initially started. How did you handle the opposition on a personal level? Yeah,
I still face a lot of opposition. So when we pictures of periods for our advocacy, or when we talk about it, when we say sex education or reproductive health education, or show an image of, let's say, the ovaries or reproductive health parts, we get so many messages on our Twitter, oh, what kind of work are you doing? And this is ruining our society, and this should not be open about. So, this continues to this day, but you have to kind of keep yourself away from toxicity. You have to just be like, I'm going to continue doing my work. I think I was very lucky to find the right partner. So we've now worked with UNICEF and UNESCO. They've shared our work. They've given us access to schools. We're now working in rural areas with 2 very large organizations. So when people trust those organizations, they trust us with it. So I think that has been a way for us to kind of deal with the backlash. My family has not been very accepting of my work, but now they're just like, oh, she's not going to stop, so we might as well give up. So now I think they've joined my work in a certain way.
Okay, and what about the government? Have you got any support from the government?
Not yet. That's been the hardest journey, and that will take another few years. Our government is right now, I think, very stretched out in COVID recovery and how to get the economy back to track.
Yeah.
So menstrual hygiene and women's issues are so far from their eyes. They're just like, oh, that can be something we can deal with later. However, this is something we go through even through a pandemic. This is something we go through on a monthly basis.
Sure.
During COVID times, the supply chains for period products were completely ended in urban and rural areas.
Yeah. So,
this is something that governments need to realize. Not only is education needed, but access and affordability of the product is also needed, especially during these, I would say, earthquakes and floods that happen in our country very frequently, and pandemics that have now become a new normal for us.
Yeah.
So this is something that the government has to consider. Whether they're willing to work with social enterprises, I don't know.
Yeah.
This is something that will take time.
Speaking of the pandemic, we here in Kenya, we had social organizations providing kids with food, basic items, but we found that even sanitary towels were not a basic need that was provided to these girls. Was it the same in your area? And how has the COVID pandemic impacted girls in the rural areas who did not have access to these products?
Yeah, so when they had a COVID donation pack, and this had all the essentials for all those low income or rural areas, which had food and everything else that was necessary to go through a month when the lockdowns had happened and people's wages were completely cut off. But in that donation box, there was no menstrual product because A, it wasn't available, and B, it wasn't considered a necessity. And there is always one woman or girl in every family, and sometimes in hugely populated countries, there are multiple girls in each family or house. So, this was not a consideration, and this is something that we advocated, we pushed for. However, some people made products and get this across to a lot of girls, but this was not sustainable because, 1 month lockdown on and off in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Know that products are not the most sustainable products. We have to come up with alternatives. We have to be open to other alternatives like menstrual cups or period panties. These have to be accepted by our countries. I wonder, is the perception of menstrual cup in Kenya? Are women willing to use menstrual cups?
I think it depends on the population because we have people living in different areas. So I think people are more willing to accept it in urban areas but in rural areas it's a bit tricky.
Yeah, though there's a lot of organizations going out there educating and empowering women on the use of these things because they're still seen as foreign products. We're used to tampons, we're used to pads, but menstrual cups, they're actually something new that is being introduced to the society. So it's gaining ground gradually, but it's something that we're yet to see being pushed on a nationwide scale. So it's, baby steps for now.
Absolutely. That's the same. We have a virginity obsession in Pakistan, and because of that, girls are unwilling to put any. They're afraid that what will happen or how will it affect their prospects for marriage.
Yeah.
So there's so many cultural aspects to just healthy menstruation or managing your menstruation.
And I think it's also an issue with a lot of our populations here because of the issue to do with hygiene, access to basic things like water, to clean yourself. So the uptake might not be as fast as we want it to be because of such issues, but well, as I said, baby steps, but it's happening. It's slowly gaining ground.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know, you have worked with a lot of populations in the rural community. I don't know whether there's any similarity you've seen.
There is, especially
Saba.
also on the virginity part.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard to explain to a young, maybe say 12-year-old girl to insert a menstrual cup. They won't really understand why should I do this. So you have to go deep into the conversation and say it's okay. So again, getting teachers hearing you tell these girls to insert the menstrual cup inside is, the inception isn't really as we would like. It's the same issues.
I want to also ask about schools that you've been to in rural areas. Of Spain or newspaper basket for disposal. In Sanitary, pollute. And so I don't know whether dustbins are available as in rural areas as much as in urban areas.
Okay, Saba, we lost you a bit there, so please you can go over that again.
I wanted to ask about disposal process required in every classroom in schools, a waste basket or a dustbin. Girls can properly dispose and so that plastic pollution does not continue, does not hamper the environment. Is there education on the sustainability and environmental impact of menstruation?
Mm-hmm. I remember when we were in school, we used to have, when we had, what are they called? Home science lessons, yeah? We would be taught how to use, there were guys from always used to come to school and teach us how to use the sanitary towels. And then they will bring in the disposable bins where they will install them in schools. I don't know whether that is still happening.
Yeah.
Yes, that happens, but I don't know whether that happens in a lot of the rural areas. But you'll find that most of the urban population, we have sanitary bins in our offices, in our schools, but it's not in totality. It's not in totality. So you go to some schools and they don't have these facilities where they're able to dispose them. They don't know how to dispose their sanitary products. And, well, it's something that I think needs to be addressed seriously and even figure out whether we have any other mechanisms for recycling such products, instead of just using them and filling the dump sites with these products.
Yeah. Although I have seen some schools that are encouraging the girls to throw the used pads in pit latrines. So I feel like schools are actually trying to help dispose the pads. So there is effort in trying to dispose them.
For recycling, we haven't heard of any yet. Maybe it's something that's happening, but it's definitely something we need to look into.
Absolutely. That's why all periods have to be studied. The disposal, the information, the accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
tackled together.
I am so surprised at the similarities that we are. I mean, you're in Pakistan, all the way in Pakistan, and we're here in Nairobi. And I mean, the girls are facing similar issues. Rural Pakistan is facing similar issues. Rural Kenya is going through. And these bold conversations also don't happen openly here in Kenya as well, because our traditions, Africans generally, we don't talk about these things in public. Mostly the men will be like, this are women issues, let the women deal with them. So it's interesting that we are noticing so many similarities, and figuring out how to bring Raaji here will be such a big step in fighting or demystifying this whole menstrual health and hygiene issue.
Absolutely. Something that you said that really resonates with me is that men and boys have to be about this topic so much, because they are with women and sometimes add more stress to women's menstruation. They have to be support partners and they have to be educated on.
Sorry, we lost you for a minute there.
Then, applies for menstruation. Men and boys have just as part of this advocacy and this campaigning, because they are an equal part of our society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very crucial to involve the men, the boys, because in some instances you find this. We've had people telling us, sharing with us the stories, and they're like, their first period, they got so stigmatized because of the boys in school. You know, at that age, they're adolescents, they're scared, they're shy, and once they go out there, the boys realize, oh, she has had her period, so they start laughing at her, and she has to run away from school or stay in one position so that she doesn't stand up. So these conversations, as I feel like if they continue, the more they continue, the more everyone is brought into realization that it's not just a girl's issue. It's something that each and every one of us needs to take active participation in. Yeah.
Having worked with bodies in the United Nations, such as UNESCO, do you see any hope of having free pads to every girl in the world? And why is it such why are we still having this conversation of having free or cheap pads to girls across the continent, across the world?
No, there are countries that are case studies for that have made periods as part of the curriculum. However, these are like countries that are already developed. They're very different from us. And you know, there's a huge, we have to also understand the cultural differences between countries like ours and countries like Scotland, where period products are free, New Zealand. Now, they are talking about topics like orgasm or female pleasure. And we can't even talk about what our bodies do. We don't even know that. There's a huge disconnect.
Yeah.
So I feel like it will take us a very long time. The world needs a very long time to get to the same place.
Mm-hmm.
It is because there's intense inequality between the world right now, and COVID has further, I would say, intensified these inequalities. So I feel that, you know, I don't think in my life I would see these becoming, you know, products completely free in all of rural and urban areas. I think it's a very far dream. However, I think the work has to see that future. This is a very long struggle. I would say anybody who's working with advocacy in a developing country, this is a 3-year kind of journey. This is going to be a lifetime of constantly campaigning and activating communities.
Can you hear me now? Is it possible to interact with Raaji before we let you go?
I would love to show you, let's see if I can share the screen. If you give me access to share my screen, I can take you through our website where you can chat with Raaji through buttons and other ways.
Or we can chat? Okay.
Yeah, if you guys could provide me with access to sharing, yeah, I have it.
Mm-hmm.
1 second, give me
Yes, guys, as we wait for that to be set up, please keep sending your questions, your feedback for Saba. She's joining us all the way from Karachi in Pakistan, and she's developed a chatbot that is helping to empower girls on everything that is women, sexual and reproductive health. And I think it's a really, really amazing tool that she has developed. And I hope that we're going to see her in Nairobi. She hopes that she can bring the chatbot here to Nairobi and see whether we can fill it up with content in Kiswahili,
Vernacular languages.
in vernacular languages too, to help girls in whichever part of the world they are in, or the part of Kenya. So there you go. We have a screen that's being shared.
You
to
went
you.
my screen, yeah.
Yeah, we can
Awesome.
see it.
Okay, so initially Raaji started off exactly like this.
Yeah,
She looks like a lot of girls in Pakistan from an area in Sindh.
yeah.
She covers her head and she has her own storyline, her cartoon series.
Mm-hmm.
So if I click on her, this will take me to her story in Urdu. And this talks about her starting her period for the first time. This talks about the shame and stigma in classrooms. It talks about the power of talking about this topic. So we hope to take this in Swahili, dub it in Swahili with your support and your help, and take it and set it up in various communities and share it with others.
Oh,
Now, if you want to, you can just start off with pressing these buttons, and we designed it in buttons because girls here do not have literacy in.
My name is Raaji, and I'm very happy to meet you.
So we're going to ask her knowledge on menstruation.
okay.
I have knowledge about the female body and its health systems. Should I tell you about it? In the female body, there is a system called reproductive health system. And because of that, you go through a process called menstruation. Menstruation is a normal process which happens to every girl. During this process, you will bleed from your vagina, and this is a sign of a healthy body. I know the following facts about menstruation. It happens to all girls and women. Periods usually last from 3 to 7 days. Periods happen every month after 28 to 35 days. Period blood has a range of colors. Normally it is red or brown. The texture of period blood can be clots, jelly-like, or tissues. It's important to take care of your health during periods. If you want to live a healthy life, then take care of your health. By managing your periods well, you will be at peace mentally and physically. Here are some ways to manage. You can have these symptoms before and after your periods. These are some of the misunderstandings in Pakistan about periods. There is no need to stay away from others or skip school during periods. There is no issue in bathing during your periods. Staying clean is important. You can eat anything during periods. There is nothing wrong with it.
So I can go through maybe an hour of menstrual knowledge, but I thought this was a long enough lesson for us to talk about periods for adolescent girls.
It is so comprehensive. I love it. I love it. And you have broken down that information to the most basic way for everyone to understand. Totally love it.
It takes 2 hours to, totally talk about all aspects of it.
Yeah.
This is just 2 minutes, but girls go through this like an actual class of English or science. I think this is a topic that should be exactly like other traditional curriculum topics.
Yeah.
Because this is just as important.
All right, Saba, let me move to the questions. There are people who have asked some questions on our YouTube channel. And the first question from Ian is, how's the government? Oh, I think we answered that question, the government's involvement. And someone is saying, Rebecca is saying, great work, Saba. How is the reception of the app in Pakistan? We've answered that question also. Ian is asking, do men in Pakistan have knowledge on menstruation, or is just like here in Kenya?
Yeah, they don't even say the word. This has a huge impact on religious activities that happen. For instance, in the month of Ramadan, we fast. And so when women can't tell their brothers or their fathers that they are going through their periods and cannot fast, they pretend to fast. They pretend in front of the breakfast table or the table when we open the fast that they are also fasting, because they can't even say that to the men in their family that they skipped today. So imagine there's so much silence on this topic. My father does not say that I work on menstruation. He says, oh, she works on health. He doesn't want to even say the word.
Yeah.
The word is so, I would say, stigmatized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so sad. I hope that really changes. It's also gradually changing here. We have a few men who are slowly catching on to the trend. We have, in fact, last week, but when we had a health champion who, he's a guy, and he's the one who goes out to the rural areas and to urban populations that are less disadvantaged to talk to girls about menstrual health and menstrual hygiene. And I really applaud him for that boldness. It's not something that happens on a day-to-day basis here in Kenya as well. So yeah, we are actually going through similar situations. So we hope this changes. We see the tide lifting. Yeah, I don't know whether you have anything.
I can't wait for you to come to Nairobi and actually personalize whatever Raaji is doing. Whenever I'm distributing pads to girls in schools, they usually have so many questions. And sometimes we're given very limited time because they have to go back to their schedule in school. So having Raaji there will definitely help ease the whole process of
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today and for inviting me and allowing me to kind of share some of our work. Thank you so much to the whole team at Eastland Expressions.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And even for you having the time to join us, it was such an insightful conversation. And you are such a you have such positivity in you, so we can feel it. We can feel it all the way here. And thank you so much for what you're doing for the girls in Pakistan. And it's phenomenal. You're changing someone's life somewhere. And because of you, a girl will stand in front of an audience one day and say, because of Saba, I had the confidence to do blah, blah, blah. I became a surgeon. I became a pilot. I became this, because of what you're doing.
Absolutely. We're all setting an example for other girls. I hope they follow.
I hope so too.
Good luck with everything, Jean. I love your work, and thank you for inviting me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right.